Baby, but most of you probably know me as Cameron. Today I will be doing a story time of sorts. I'm actually going to do one about the story of how I was diagnosed with Crohn's and how I handle it every day. I'm just going to go ahead and get pretty quickly into this, but what I do want to say is that I want to make this video for awareness reasons, not only for people or young people who suffer with Crohn's disease. I also want to help people who are suffering with other things because I can sympathize just being scared of the unknowing that may be something that you handle for the rest of your lives. So like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let's go ahead and get right into this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about what Crohn's disease is. It is a subcategory of inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease is your digestive tract having inflammation. It is chronic, which means lifelong, and right now there is no cure for it. It is also considered an autoimmunity, mainly because the body sends microorganisms to attack its own cell walls of the stomach or digestive tract. One thing I'd like to clear up before we talk about anything else is that it is not irritable bowel syndrome. It is not the same thing, though they can seem to have very similar characteristics. It is actually damage and true inflammation scarring from the digestive tract that erodes and eats away at the walls. A good telltale sign for Crohn's is the C-reactive proteins that the liver produces to let your body know that there is inflammation going on. And the best way to figure those out is through a blood test. Normally, you should only have 2 to 5 CRPs. I had around 300. Now, that is one good telltale sign, but to be completely honest, I've been dealing with this since the 6th grade. I don't exactly know what caused it, but a lot of the doctors have suggested that because my parents got a divorce around the same time, the first ulcers I had were stress induced, and then it just went further from there. So I've had these flare-ups is what I'll call them. Those are the smaller episodes where it's more pain than life-threatening. I have those more often than many would like. Some of them are very debilitating. It takes days in order for me to recover. And what it feels like is that every 5 minutes, for about 2 out of that 5 minutes, you'll feel this horrible stabbing. And I feel it right here, and it just twists and twists like a knife, and then it stops for about 3 minutes. And then it starts again, and that is all day. That is my body fighting itself, and it is exhausting. And that's just my flare-ups. So those I feel like are the tougher ones when it comes to pain. But then there are the episodes. So my first one happened when I was 16 years old. I had this immense problem that I was dealing with, and a bad flare-up had followed with a couple of days of stools after that were bloody, and that's not normal for me because mine doesn't go down bad. It just all comes back up. When I have my flare-ups, everything will come back up, including water. But really, I deal with uncomfortability with my sensitive digestion tract all day long. I feel very uncomfortable wearing a lot of clothing. Bras of any kind, doesn't matter if they're padded or non-lined or sport, anything impeding even a little bit of like motility is painful to me. High-waist jeans that are super high-waist hurt. Sometimes not even that high-waist jeans, and leggings can even feel like painful to me. When I had my first true bleed, it was very terrifying. I didn't really know what was going on or how serious the situation was. I ended up having 2 blood transfusions, 1 colonoscopy, one endoscopy, and then I also had a capsule study. And a colonoscopy is where they knock you out and put a camera up your butt. To be completely honest with you, that's what it is. And endoscopy is the same thing except on the opposite end. Instead, they pass you at the same time, and then they put a camera in your mouth as well, all the way down your digestive tract. Thank God for anesthesia, and thank God that it worked on me. And I also had a capsule study, so I swallowed this big pill, and they took pictures of my colon the whole way down. Well, I have a little conspiracy theory, because I tried for months, and I never ended up catching that little tiny capsule. So, it may still be in there. I have no idea. But what they concluded after the first one was that there was a stress ulcer or an ulcer of sorts that had latched on to a part of where my artery is in my stomach, and it opened, and the artery then was bleeding through my stomach. So that was really fun. I know that sounds really scary, and I guess it was at the time, but now I know better. A lot of people don't know this, but NSAIDs, or that's what they're called in the medical field, but like ibuprofen and Advil and Excedrin, all that good stuff, if you don't eat properly with like pain relief, except maybe Tylenol, because Tylenol isn't that bad, anything else like Advil, ibuprofen, it is corrosive to your stomach wall. So I really recommend switching to Tylenol if you have a more sensitive stomach or have stomach problems. We kind of didn't take it seriously because it was the first time it happened. It was very surreal for me, and I don't really remember much around that time, except I do remember going to a doctor's appointments, and one of them was my best friend Faith, and she was very involved in like my treatment plan for a while until I had moved, which was very amazing for me because I never had somebody that would do stuff like that for me or with me. Not to that level of personal intimacy, I guess, because that's really what it was. So, by the time Attack 2 happened, the second I saw the bowl of blood, I drove myself, like, called a couple people but had no time to think, drove myself shitting blood to the hospital, waited for an hour to get treatment while losing blood via the bathroom the entire time, and finally, while almost passing out while they are taking my blood, they got me into a hospital room, and I got another blood transfusion and, guess what, another colonoscopy. They also found a couple of granules, which is another sign of Crohn's disease, on my linings, but they were very small, and they weren't too worried about them, which was good. A lot of my doctors have told me that I have the best case scenario for Crohn's disease, which I can see for some people and for some perspectives, that's great. However, for somebody to tell me that, hey, I have this disease, but at least you have it easy compared to this disease, that doesn't help me feel any better about the pain that I go through. There were times in the hospital when I was truly terrified because I genuinely love life. I genuinely know that there's so much more that I could still do, knowing that I have my whole life ahead of me and I have to worry about stuff like this can be really heartbreaking sometimes. And even talking about it can be difficult because I sometimes do feel alone in this. I feel like, I feel bad when I can't finish plates of food, but it is so genuinely hard to deal with it sometimes, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it. I have a very sensitive stomach tract in general, which is why I can't wear tight clothing. And I struggle every day with uncomfortableness. Now, sometimes it's more painful than not, but just eating every day, maybe not for every meal, but every day there is some uncomfortability with Crohn's, and that's something that is not talked about. I will say, on a positive note, is that I am officially, this February, 1 year in remission from my second attack, which happened when I was 19. I still have challenges when it comes to Crohn's. I have nutrition deficiencies. I have anemia. I struggle with anorexia because of the nutrition deficiencies. And though I am no different than anybody else here, I have learned how to be stronger and how to thrive, though I have Crohn's disease. I want to raise awareness and be open about some stuff like this in my life. I think I got everything out that I needed to say. If you guys have any more questions, I'm happy to answer. I don't know if I portrayed Crohn's disease as accurately as I see it now, as I live it every day. However, I've also spoken at 2 different nursing school seminars about these very topics, and for that I am very proud, and I'm just going to be continuing to raise awareness as I go through this very, very, very crazy experience that I call my life. I wanted to thank you guys very much for watching. There will be another episode coming up shortly. I'm going to be doing multiple of these right now, mainly because there's multiple things I want to do, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for staying with me and supporting me, and I really, really hope you guys have a great day. So yeah.